Ladies and gentlemen, I've been repeatedly reminded that excluding this sentence I'm speaking, I have exactly 3 minutes and 10 seconds to introduce two wonderful individuals with lots of accomplishment. So strap in and listen intensely. The time was 1984. The place was HP's Cupertino site. I have to remind you at that time HP had two major attributes. First, we went to work every day, every month, we have the same CEO. And second, we have an incredibly open office policy where including all the high-level executives. So I was walking along the corridor of this used to be called Building 43 upper, and I heard this big bang. Somebody was pounding the table and with a rich voice said, "I do not accept that schedule." That was my first exposure to Dan. Now, if pounding the table can be taken as a metaphor of slightly stating impatience of unsatisfactory status quo, and the declaration that one wants to do something creative and courageous about it to change the state of affairs, then for the ensuing 27 years, I have seen my then boss, and then friend, and then for many years my business mentor, went on to pound table after table after table. He pounded the network storage table by taking on as a CEO of a 45-people private company and brought it to a $6 billion public company, creating 12,000 jobs in the process. He pounded on the table for enterprise management by repeatedly making this place called NetApp to be voted by prestigious organizations like Fortunes and others to be the best place, among the best places on earth to work. He pounded on the table of corporate citizenship by encouraging his people to repeatedly come out with community service programs that are leading edge. Every metaphorical table Dan touched that he cared for, he pounded, and changes happened. I would venture to say that the only tables that he probably did not pound are the ones belong to him at home. But is it? But everyone knows those tables really belong to Charmaine. Now, Charmaine and Dan met when they were undergraduates in Princeton in the early 70s. And those of us who know them as a very warm, outgoing, very intelligent, very Catholic couple who intensely admire one another. And at the foundation of such a strong, amicable relationship, one has to speculate there has to be a very strong communication. Now, without being unfair to Dan, I would speculate that that is because of Charmaine's strong academic and professional background. As you see that she actually got her BA from Princeton in psychology. And while Dan left her 5 days after graduation to start working for IBM, she went on and went to Columbia Teachers College and got her master in special education. Later on in her life, she actually went and spent on 2 more years for communication techniques. She actually learned the sign language. As you see, that can be an incredibly effective tool for a household where the other party is always involved in endless conference call. Now, jokes aside, the early commitment of Charmaine in education, and then later on education for the underprivileged, and education for the severely handicapped, going to the extent of spending 2 years of her life to learn the sign language, to bring education to the hearing impaired. All this are indicative of the spirit and the philosophy of the Warmenhoven's work in philanthropy, which intersected with that of PACT, and for which we're honoring the organization and the activity and Dan and Charmaine today. So what is that spirit? If I can be so immodest to take my interpretation of it, what they say is for all of us, all of you who live in the Silicon Valley, that had the benefit of the gifts that this valley gave us, in our day-to-day life, do not forget, among all of us living very close to us is another population of people that are not only underprivileged, but because of the social, economic, and sometimes legal standing, they dare not even stand up to speak for themselves and for the benefits of the ones they love. For those people, I read from Dan and Charmaine's work, we are reminded we need to keep pounding the table. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to give you Charmaine and Dan Warmenhoven.
Well, thank you very much, Dominic. That was colorful, to say the least. Do better. A few days ago, I was watching the news on, it was actually October 28th, and I was watching the celebration in the New York Harbor, celebrating the 125th anniversary of the Statue of Liberty. And it reminded me of two inscriptions on that statue. On the base of the statue is inscribed, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free." And on the tablet that the statue is holding is an inscription that's taken from the Declaration of Independence that I think all of you know, which is, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among them are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Those are great words, very powerful words. And those words, I think, for decades kind of defined the U.S. attitude towards those who immigrated here from other countries to this land of opportunity with their goal of making a better life for themselves and for their children. I wonder today if those words still hold true. It seems to me that that attitude has changed quite dramatically, and particularly here in California. People who move into Santa Clara County, especially from countries south of the U.S., who don't come here on H-1 visas to work in the tech industry, are largely concentrated in areas such as East San Jose. Those people, as I think Dominic pointed out, have no political voice, no political power, and really no economic power. And in general, those communities, I think, are largely underserved in the areas of health, education, and public services. It's those areas where the schools have been notoriously underperforming or among the worst performing in the county for quite some time, which really defeats the notion of coming here to provide a better life for your children, because it really feeds into the cycle of poverty, of poor education, poor completion records and graduation, poor records in terms of higher education, and so on. And that's really where PACT plays a huge role. They advocate on behalf of the underserved communities. They provide them that voice on a variety of issues. And I feel that their big, if you will, pardon the pun, impact has been in the area of education. They have been absolutely instrumental in the creation of the charter schools in the area. And most recently, I think their most recent success is the Alpha Middle School, which is going to open in the fall in the Alum Rock School District. Those schools have amazing records of high performance, and I think offer an opportunity to the students to really advance themselves and move on to higher education. Charmaine and I have focused our philanthropy efforts in the past in the areas of education, health and human welfare, including services such as Second Harvest, the arts, and in large part the Catholic Diocese of San Jose and its associated service institutions. The PACT mission sits squarely on top of at least two of those, education and health and human services. And so we are very, very proud, and you heard in the introduction some of the achievements that PACT has made. We're proud to be supporters of PACT. We're proud that we have, in some small way, enabled some of their success, and that makes us extremely proud to be honored today by PACT and receive this Leadership in Action Award. Thank you all very much.
I would just like to add my thanks to all of you for being here today to show your support for us, for Judy, and for PACT. It is truly PACT's honor and is our privilege to be able to support them. Thank you so much.